As we get into this morning live, I'm just setting up my tablet here as I'm a little discombobulated. Hold on one sec. Much better. So, just wanted to shut the door. Um, but it's an interesting morning because I think quant could be showing us a little bit of a direction. I like to watch quant, even though I'm not invested in it personally. It's a little out of where I would like to pay. I like to watch it for direction when it comes to the ISO settings, like the tokens and just things within the similar infrastructure, because after all, quant lays the foundation for all of this to happen. So that's something that we pay attention to universally just to see if it leads a little direction. And it's interesting because quant's up 11% and it bounced off of this 4-hour correction, which I find very encouraging because most of our market right now are behind this. Quant bounced off of the retest of the 20 and then it just bounced out. So what I'm looking at is like XRP, for example, bouncing on the 4-hourly. I think we had a perfect back test and coming through, bouncing. Now, are we going to be able to follow this through? When we go into the setups, I like to look for comparisons, not because everything rhymes, but they don't do identical. They tend to rhyme a little bit. But you see how this backed into here? 20 crossed the 50, rolled through the 200 and pushed on. So if we're looking for apples to apples, unless it's just a runaway train that doesn't follow, this should be able to hold this. Now, does it come through here? I'm not necessarily sure it's going to come back through here. See how it rode through? Now it tops the 100. Now, if it does what quant did, we should be coming up here near this, and it makes sense, $2.44 area, 246. See, we should be coming up here. Quant did this. So if we emulate quant, which it's not guaranteed, I'm just saying if we ride the same structure, we have the inverse pattern, really should come up here. If it bounces off, unless it rides down to the 20 and we get invalidated, it comes through back to the uptrend or whatever. From here to this next resistance would be about 11.5%. Now, what area of significance did we break through so far here today? What area of significance? Well, I'm glad you asked because we back tested that area of significance. This $2.16, we talked about this yesterday in real time. I think it was at 218, but I moved it on here. But this is the area of back test, and we did it perfectly. Why is this important to go buy layer? Because this is the first consolidation that we held after immediately falling through this pattern. We came back up, created the V-shaped recovery, have a little bit of an inverse pattern, back tested the breakout of the short-term micro pattern, and now it puts us into a still micro, but it pushes us into a slightly different setup here. Now this starts to show you the channel that started setting up within. Again, that $1.94 was of significance. Now we have that $2.44. Looks like a little bull flag could be set up this morning. Nice V inverse head and shoulders. Nice back test of the inverse breakout. You have a nice cup and handle that formed. So, and this was our projection from here. It just took longer. So, you know, you never know where it's going to hit. If it would have been here, it would have been $1.98. It took, what did it take? How much longer? This was on November 14th. It took so it took 1 week longer for this to set up. Ended up coming down here and it's playing it perfectly. Buy support, sell resistance, buy support, sell resistance, buy support until the pattern breaks or, you know, breaks out or breaks down. That's what conventional wisdom that I like to use. So now if this pattern breaks out, now we get into the real, it's still micro, but let's call it the macro of the micro views. The first one that I showed you right here was the imminent thing you have to get through. This is why I don't just have one chart. So the micro of the micro, we had to get back up towards $2.16. It pointed at $1.94 as it turned out, or $1.96 in some cases that we needed to hold. First area we needed to get back above is 216.93 to back test and hold, because of the time frame, because of the day. So when I do my 60-second TA, I will get sleazeballs like this guy, which I'll use for an example because I don't care about shaming him because he's a dick. So, you know, if you're a dick, I can shame you. And I'm not even shaming you, but listen to this comment. So, you know, I do the 60-second TA every day. Let me sum it up. What you just said, XRP could go up, but XRP could go down. I hope it goes up, but if it doesn't, it may go down a little. What was the point of this video? So I don't even need to show what I put. If you want to see it, you can look. But the point of my 60-second TA is I not only explain this short-term move, the back test, if we fall through, what happens. I also describe this chart because this is the most imminent point. So we talk about if we can do certain things, we can get to certain points. And I talk about the mid-tier level at 234. It tells you how you get up to the 244. And then overall, if we can break through this, and then I told you got to watch the live because that's only a 60-second TA. So you get the short-term inner workings of the micro chart that sets you up for the day. So now it held that 216 area we talked about in the short. Didn't have to come down to 208. Didn't have to come to $1.98. Worst case, to $1.77 to $1.82 is not triggered. So now you can, in your own head, say, okay, we held 216. What's next? Okay, now we got to get back above 218 to 222 level just to get on top of there. Then we start running out to 234 on a beta to try to get back to this 244 level. Then we break outside of that. And that's the importance of the daily TA in 60 seconds. After all, it's a 60-second TA. You know, if you want more, you got to put more. If you want more out of it, you got to get more. You got to be here. Where's that person in the comments in the live? Never put the effort in, but wants to be a dick. That's the kind of person you know is going to be behind the cubicle, working a 9 to 5, never investing properly, and always complaining like a little pussy because he's a victim. Good morning. 11:45 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Tuesday, November 25th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire. And I reside in the great state of Michigan. So it's up to you guys. Do you want to know something? Or do you not want to know something? Do you want to be a complainer? Do you want to be a pretender? Or do you want to be a contender? Think about it. You can either be positive, you can be negative. You can take something out of the info, or you can diss it. You know, some of the most uneducated people on the planet are the ones who are grammar Nazis in the real world. You say something, make valid points, and then they'll be like, oh, you misspelled this word. Congratulations, you are a schlub. You didn't take anything out of the conversation. You didn't add anything to the conversation. And all you did was what school taught you, how to correct something that's not worth correcting. Learn, people. These are all stupid games the stupid play. Don't be the stupid. Be the enlightened. Be enlightened. If there's anything you can learn from all of this, be enlightened. Remember on Friday when nobody wanted to buy this market and I said, listen, what's going to happen? We're going to have this rally. We're going to get up to these levels. And then once we get up to these levels, everybody's going to question it. Everybody's going to buy. Then it's going to drop down and we're going to correct. And everybody's going to sell. Because once you get on the wrong way, it's over. So just get on these charts. You pay attention to the areas. So now we know we're over 216. So now our job is to either hold 216 and some change. And now XRP, and this is really where it has to sink in, ladies and gentlemen. We've got to get over that $2.44. And then because I believe we're in a bullish megaphone. Or let's not even call it a bullish megaphone. Let's just call it a megaphone, you know, so people don't get offended. I think we're in a megaphone. And we've thought we were in a megaphone since before this price action happened back to the downside. So the fact we came to the downside of support, 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 resistance, resistance, it seems to me to speak to this area. It really does. And technically, we're not going to want to come all the way back down in a bullish megaphone. I mean, we could, but we had one hit a support, one hit a resistance first, support 1 and 1, 2 on resistance, 2 on support, 3 on support, which could give us the bullish leg. This could give us this bullish short-term leg if this plays out. I don't know if it's going to. Nobody does. I'm not a wizard. Despite popular belief. If this was the 17 and 1800s, I probably would have been hung as a witch or a warlock. So, you know, sometimes knowledge is good, but wrong time frame. I may not have been able to share what I know because I wouldn't have wanted to been hung by my fellow peers. And God knows my fellow peers, for the most part, want to hang me when it comes to my knowledge because they don't want to hear it. So now we got to get up here. And do we dump down first? This is the question I can't answer. And one, we haven't come to 234 to even try to validate a response. Well, you know what? Never mind. We came up here close enough at the, it's 230, 228 close enough to me. That's close enough to me. Now we're just splitting hairs. So now we see, can we push up and take the up route? And that would include us getting over $2.34, yes, but holding $2.44 and trying to push out. Or do we get rejected here, come all the way back down, and try to form a bigger leg here? I don't know. I don't know. I don't know this morning. I just know we're trying to hold 216 right now, and we're going to have to try to figure this out. John Boogathorpe, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. Oh, anybody saying get under my skin? Oh, it's actually the opposite. I use that as a springboard into what I was trying to say. It's anything but get under my skin. I actually am taking this in a different light. I like that comment because now I could use it and kind of springboard into my point. You know? But yes, I appreciate it. No, try that. Maybe Tom of yesteryear would have got bothered by it, but I'm trying to think of putting in things progressive. And see, I'm trying to be passionate and quieter. Passionate but not loud, because now I'm getting loud, but it's not loud. This used to be my quiet talking. Now this is my loud talking. If I can conquer this, it's a whole new feeling. But John Boogathorpe, thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge, said, over the last year, listening to you has made me enormous amounts of money. Patience pays. Oh, it sure does. Especially when you're trying to buy something, or if you're looking at a site, you got to be patient. And then if you're holding something, I love it. I put this on above me too. I like that. That's supposed to be like the Halloween. I don't even know if you can see it, but it's like the spiders and stuff. But I wanted something, there's spider webs and stuff that you probably can't see because it's on the wall. Yeah, there we go. But actually that looks better like that, I think. But no, adding a little bit of flavor to the live. But I gotta thank one more person too. Not that I want to thank everybody in here, and then I'll give you an update on my son. Thank you, Joseph Euler, for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the Extra Breed Predictor, and also being a very, 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 very important person in here as you continue to not only show up and pay it forward, but you keep sending gifted subs to members that you're trying to get the word out, and I love it. Gifted a sub this morning. More people. If everybody had your mindset, imagine what we could take. Right now, we've got 50% of the audience is hitting the like button, or 55%. Hit the like button at the very least. It'd be awesome. Absent Knows got the gifted sub. Congratulations, and welcome into Tom's Army for your first month with the emoji badge of me being abducted by aliens. And that is my face superimposed on that emoji badge. So my son, health-wise, he had a flu, and it was an inner infection with the flu. He had it bad, and he was throwing up and not being able to keep stuff down. Well, he has a G-tube because through trauma, he created a lot of oral aversion because he was forced to take medications and stuff through his mouth, and then anyhow, it became bad. He was hospitalized for the better part of a month last year. We ended up having to go to Grand Rapids. He ended up getting a G-tube at the end of it. After some misdiagnoses, it was a nightmare. But anyhow, he has that. So we're able to, even when he wasn't keeping anything down, we were able to give him Pedialyte and fluids every 2 hours. As long as it wasn't his formula or milk based, he was keeping it down. So we were able to get him hydrated so that we didn't have to worry about that. And yesterday he started to do a lot better when it comes to that regard. We're able to feed him formula today. We were able to do 4 ounces of formula this morning. It's supposed to be 8, but up to 4 ounces now. And 4 ounces of Pedialyte to added fluid. So, and he's keeping everything down. He hasn't thrown up in 2 days, no more anti-nausea medicine. But from when he got to the point of with the stomach flu, when you dry heave, even when you're empty, he's got a G-tube. So you know how it burns in general? I can't imagine what it feels like with a G-tube in his stomach. So now he's gone back to the oral aversion. He doesn't want to swallow. He doesn't want to drink his water. He doesn't want to eat food, which is why he got the G-tube in the first place. So fortunately, we're able to get him past what would have been dehydration stage, and now he's back to normal. Like, he's no longer the dry lips or any signs of anything. He looks fine. He can run around now. He's just got to get past the psychological. So that's where we're at right now. So it's with T, it's very difficult because I can't just take him to a doctor and say he doesn't want to do this or that. You know, we were hospitalized for a month for this. And then it ends up being psychological at the end of the day because he had a lot of trauma when he was younger, 6 months old. Him and his mom got into a really bad head-on accident, which wasn't Julie's fault, but nonetheless, Julie's had like 6 surgeries. Her ankle's been completely rebuilt with a cadaver bone, and it's a nightmare. T broke his femur, and he had head trauma, and And now on top of it, he's special needs. He's, on the spectrum, autism, and nobody knows what was linked to the accident or not. This is a lot of trauma that built into this, and I think he has an injury that nobody wants to acknowledge in his head. But anyhow, that's where we're at right now. So we're trying to get him to understand that when he can take milk in the G tube and his formula, that he can take and eat anything by mouth, and he can drink water because it's going to stay down, because the milk and the base of it with the formula, where he gets all of his nutrients, and well, not all of it, because we give him vitamins and stuff too. But that once he can hold that down because of the acidic nature of the milk part of it, that he's okay to eat his other stuff. So he's just got to make that connection, and I don't know how long it's going to take. Fortunately, there's no school until Monday. But T has special circumstances, so the school knows full well that's not an easy road. So, like I said, last year we missed a lot of time. But yeah, that's what we're going with. That's what we go with. See, this is what I love about people, right? Sensitive situation, right? You seem sensitive. No shit, John. Wouldn't you be sensitive if this was your son and you were dealing with this? Don't think that any of you douchebags that are trying to be dicks to me are causing this. This is all for my son. So, I mean, for anybody to try to highlight that, so I'm going to move on into the charts, but, I mean, come on now. What if I came there and slapped you in the face and said, your face stings, huh? No shit. So Bitcoin's at 87,000, roughly 86,968. So that's where we're at. But I could even be misresponding to people because of emotion, you see. So I don't know the situation. He might not even been talking to me. He could have been talking to somebody else. But that's why we can't let emotions dictate our response. So let's get off of that. 30-minute for Bitcoin. Try not to get rejected here, because if we do, we push back into, well, we've come down once. We come down to 85,885. Let's see. Hourly's reversing a little. I'm going to call that reversal. Interesting is what I'll say. I mean, at least the hourly pushback and the stochastic, it's a very sensitive indicator. Speaking of sensitive, and it's in the oversold, which is not a bad sign. At least it came back down and reset a little bit here. 3 hourly's more favorable. 4 hourly came back and reset, but almost pulled down into a head here again, into a shoulder. Like, these are what you want to see. Wick down, back up. Wick down, pull up strong. Almost looks like you could have a micro inverse pattern here just looking at the 4 hourly. I know it's a little jank, but if we can hold this 20-day in the 4-hour setting, oh, that's still 3 hours. I don't know. This is interesting how it pulled back up here. I kind of like this. For the short term, at least, I kind of like this. Let's see what Ethereum's doing. Nice back test on, now that we're back inside of this pattern consolidation. Back tested the pattern consolidation once it got back in it. Not at any kind of hardcore level, but at least we were able to come up to 2,888. Push back down to 2,790. Swing around. Hold the 20-day as support. 4-hour candle that if we could close up here, but we still got a lot of time here. Interesting. This would suggest that Ethereum's going to try to see if we have strength to get rejected. This is what it looks like. 3,122 and 20 cents. 222. Okay, I'll stick with that. So it looks like Ethereum's going to come up there. Yeah, no, I'm sorry, John. That's why I said I misdirected it at you. And yes, that person was being sensitive. I agree. But that's why I said I need to step back and actually think about this for a sec. Because after I thought about it, see my own emotion. I'm like, there's no way John was talking to me. That's why I said I think I'm commenting And because I didn't read all the way through everything, I just seen a comment. So John, my apologies. But yes, I agree with you. I agree with you. But I see, use me as an example this morning. The Lord just used me as a guiding stone in the wrong example, though I had to be the dick and look like an idiot because of emotion. So, don't speak out of emotion. I'm a perfect example of why. Let that be a learning tool this morning. Think before you speak. Unlike I. Anyhow, see if we can I think that's what we're doing. I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't be like, hey, this is what you have to do because this is but this is what I interpret happening. So I think this is what's playing out. Now, if I'm wrong, and it's okay to be wrong, we just have to know what happens if we're wrong. So if we're wrong and this doesn't play up, let's say we lose, because we have to know what we're looking at here. So let's say it doesn't go up to 3,122.20. So this is the setup. So if it doesn't go up to 3,122.20, it comes down to 2,767.33, and then down to 2,457.33. Let's see. I haven't got to read a lot of these comments yet. Let's see. So John said, hi, Tom. The guy said your question was if XRP goes up, it will go up. If down, then down. Because I thought that when I first started watching you until I understood better support and resistance. Yes, that's I like that. That's a good comment. Because that's what it is. It's support resistance. You have to understand where they're at. Let's see what else I missed. Apparently I did something else wrong in this guy's eyes. Let's see. Let's see. How much XRP do you hold and how much do you recommend we hold to be future millionaires? Loaded question. Loaded question. When I started, and I still believe this, you're going to be an XRP future millionaire, but my perspective of it, if you were following what I've done, you got to go back to March 24th of 2021 when the process started. So it becomes more than just XRP. XRP builds the guiding stone. And what I mean, if you're new, so I believe 10,000 XRP, but this comes in layers. So in 2021, when we were buying, and I haven't missed a day since that video on March 24th of 2021, over 6,200 videos that you would have to go back through to watch the stuff set up, which is encouraging, but there's too many. It'll never happen. So I think I had 7,200 XRP, and I had it at about 40, low 40-ish cent mark, maybe mid 40 cents. But on that whole agenda, the point was to build capital. We seen the top, back tested, failed at the right shoulder, and at $1.66, I urged the community, and this is when I actually made a prediction, to sell out and don't touch XRP until sub 40 cents when it comes back to the uptrend. And I told everybody that it would go down to 52 cents on this big drop, and then it would have its bull trap, and then it would just drop down sub 40, and it actually hit 52 cent mark, which was what gave me a little bit of credibility. And then I started the 10,000 XRP, so we're buying $3,500. That'll turn into 35,000 on this leg. So from that time, from when we sold out, we took X amount of dollars because we made like 18,000 between all the crypto, and we put $10,000 into gold when it was at this between gold and silver. We put these savings from our profits into gold at 1,600 and something, all the way through, I think 2,000, just under 2,000, and silver from $16 through 20. And then we did some with the silver stacking up to, I think, 26, but didn't buy anything more. Came back through, bought the bear market of 20. So it's not a short answer. You're asking me if this is the way. So people will just look at it as XRP, but listen to what XRP built us if you did it the way I did and the way I encouraged you to. Went back in this time around, bought 10,000 XRP at, well, it was more than that, but we base it on 10,000 XRP at 34 cents. When it came back down to 38 cents, I encouraged everybody last year in July to buy more, have a spare bag so you don't have to touch the 10,000 because I believe that has to sit there for eternity. It just has to. It just has to sit there. So I bought $5,000 more at 38 cents. So I was able to sell that at $3, $3.50, $3.30, anywhere I wanted above $3 when it was there. And I made a lot of money off of that. So then I took that and I put it into the mining stocks in January because I called the top. If you're new, I called the top of this bull market that was happening. And I said we were in an extended bear market, which is exactly what's happened for the last 11 months. Why I sold 75% of my crypto, the only reason it wasn't 100%, had to keep my 10,000 XRP. And I was building, well, I sold some XRP healthcare because it went from 1.7 to 50 cents. That's not a joke. I told the audience to buy it at 1.72, 2.53, and it went all the way up to 50 cents plus. That's not a joke. That's the best call I've given the community, and it happened in a matter of months. So that obviously helped. And I was able to do a lot of, like, I redid my house and a lot of stuff from that little run. But we put into now, we built a portfolio of mining stocks. Well, now the mining stocks, since we did that, and you're talking about, we were able to put about, being conservative, if you followed my plan, 40,000 from profits into the mining sector. Well, that ended up, we're on average up about 150% in the miners. So you can do the math. And that came from our XRP profits. And obviously the XRP profits we made, we actually turned into other cryptos too from some of these runs. So the XRP is now unilaterally, I started with XRP, but because of the XRP and understanding the cycles, it's afforded me, because I'm not the buy and hold for every cycle person. If that's what you're looking for, you're in the wrong community. I don't believe in that. You hold forever. I think you hold a cycle, you position yourself out when the cycle's ready, and then you try to position in with strategic strategies that you come up with yourself. It's nobody else's. You can't, I don't charge for any of my content, so you can follow along, but I'm not a financial advisor, so I don't encourage you to do what I do. But if you see fit and it resonates with you, well, maybe we can have a more active discussion and you can join Tom's Army so you can be in the Telegram. You know, and that's where we have a closer mind. We went over 500 members in the Telegram. It's a beautiful thing. But anyhow, let's continue. So now, because of what I've done with XRP, am I an XRP future millionaire? People are always like, well, XRP's not going to make it for you. Won't it? If you do it right. XRP's now spawned me everything you see in the mining sector, which now it's afforded me the ability to have 1,000 Hecla mining at like $4.50. 1,000 First Majestic in the mid to low $4 on average. Fortuna Silver Mines around $4 on average. Silvercorp Mining, I just bought back before the run back up because I sold out for the drop. These are my speculative ones, but it's allowed me 1,000 of those, 1,000 of Dolly Varden. Pan America Silver, 300 Pan America Silver, 300 B2 Gold, 3,000 Barrick Gold, but you're talking about the pricing. You know, you got to go back to January pricing for most of these. So that's what it's afforded. So now, not just that, we have our mining sector. We have gold and silver bullion that it's allowed us to have. So we can create our own central bank. Also, from the trading, the buying and selling, getting in and out here the last 9 months now, it's afforded me the opportunity, and I don't often share the portfolio, but as it stands right now with crypto, 115,000 IOTA. It's a dream. But you guys seen me in real time go 40,000. Sold it before I sold everything besides XRP and the XRP healthcare I bought back before that historic liquidation on the 10th of October. In fact, I shared a video and TA just 45 minutes before the drop begging everybody to liquidate. I was able to turn my IOTA from 40,000 to 80,000 because I bought it back at 8.5. And then I sold it again before this last drop. And I was able to now have 115,000 IOTA, 60,000 Algo, 200 plus thousand XDC, the 10,000 plus XRP, also 10,000 Band. With the community, we have over 330,000 Linea, which is up, I don't know, we bought it back at 00955 on average. DAG, I have over 200,000. SHX, 375,000. CRO is different, but I do have a lot of those because of my crypto Visa debit card at the Ruby level. So you have to have like a certain amount. So that's what XRP has spawned into. So am I an XRP future millionaire? Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention. I also have 10,000 Epic. Same thing with Axelar. VeChain, but I don't want to encourage it. It's on a 5x trade, but it's, over 400,000 VeChain, but it's up nicely right now because I bought it on the drop. But yeah, so am I an XRP future millionaire? I always say that's a tricky question. Not necessarily, and we're not even there yet. But in this next bull run, if this plays out, it's a loaded question, and I told everybody in 2021, if you were lucky enough, I told everybody there's no reason to trust me, but I have I have a very weird way of thinking, and I know what to do. Oh my God, that was like in the very beginning because so many people were asking me. I didn't know how to, because everybody wanted to do one-on-one, so I did little classes. And then people are willing to pay for the classes, but I didn't want to charge for anything, so I stopped doing that. And I tried to do it all in real time, but people really liked it. People liked when I used to do classes. I often thought about doing that again and doing it like, I don't want people to have to pay for it, but like a donation-based thing. And then if they were in it, at the end of the class or whatever, they could always send a donation or whatever in real time so that they could show their appreciation. But it was fun. It was fun. It is Halloween stuff. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. That I got that for 70% off. I'm very happy about that, Mrs. Stott. And thanks for being in Tom's Run for 3+ months with the XRP Meteor. And I'm not saying like, oh, you have to pay $50 a month or something. I'm just saying we could do a class. I miss doing it. I like teaching. Like I am a teacher at heart. Just not in the traditional sense. So like I think, and then if I did it, it wouldn't be on YouTube though. I would go to a third-party site, like maybe we'd do it on Twitch or maybe because it's easier. And then I would just give you a Twitch link. And then they have ways you can send, like if you want to send bits or but we could also do it through a PayPal and Venmo, which I should share on here, but I don't. I don't recommend dumping anything right now. Absolutely not. You've already missed that boat. There was opportunity. It's not there right now. Right now, you got to ride with what you got. Historic liquidation. I had everybody, I tried to beg. You can go back to the videos, and I don't want to go back and be like, oh, I was begging. But I was. And then I was trying to tell people that were buying, I said, please stop buying the dip. That's not the dip. If I'm liquid, there's a reason why. But I can't say anything more than that. I'm not a financial advisor. Do I listen to hip hop? I used to listen to hip hop and music, but it doesn't mean the same to me. So now what I listen to, you know who I listen to? I bought a record player, and I listen to Garnett Mims and the Enchanters. I love Garnett Mims. I listen to him all the time, and he's still alive. He's like 91. But I would like to do classes again, and I don't know if, see, but that's the thing, like, I don't want to have a bunch of spammers in there either, so I don't know how I would do it. I want to do it more professional, but I don't want to have a bunch of people that are going to ruin it. So we'd have to figure it out. Maybe I could be a strategic thing. Members of Tom's Army, blah, blah, blah. If you have 10,000 XRP, you need to hit $200 for 1 XRP so you can make 1 million. Which I know for a fact. What are you talking about? You don't need to hit $200 for XRP to hit 1 million. You need after taxes. Okay, that makes sense. I've never pushed XRP to hit $100. My targeted range for XRP is to have that run between $10 and $20 and maybe push one time 20 to 30. I don't know. But my target right now is not even close to $100. Like everybody gets pissed off at me, my friend, because I I show my target, I stick to my target, and it was my plan before we ever made the run up. I had these charts out for years, and I set this up in a way where it tells me that our target should be on the low end, $5.49 to finish off this wave 5 if we end up going into a wave 5. And then it could be a 5 wave, it could be I don't know how many waves it's going to be in the 5th, but at least the 5th and final wave should either get us to 549 or top out at $6.38. Now, there is some understanding of mine, even looking at these, because of how this consolidated and how violent it was, that we could push ourselves $8 plus. That is a possibility. But until we take out these targets that we've had for 3 years, since we're in that consolidation, you know, I don't want to go beyond that. So my whole understanding is on 10,000 tokens, you could make a decent 6-figure return, but it's more than that. That's if you hold it from beginning to end. Now, there's cycles in between, and that's what I tried to explain to the audience. So we took advantage of cycle tops, and it wasn't rocket science. Like, everybody thinks I'm a genius. I'm really not. Yes, I might interpret this better than most, but it doesn't make me a genius. That's what I'm trying to say. Everybody who acts like they got these gifts, I might have foresight, I might have insight, I might have the ability to break things down quicker than the normal person when it comes to pattern recognition. But that's just because of things that have happened to me. I have head trauma, I have frontal lobe damage that can never be fixed. I don't produce serotonin normally. I've had a lot of trauma. I can't see properly. I have no vision out of my left eye except blur. So like things are weird for me. So I've always had to understand things in patterns. And then somebody told me the greatest piece of information I ever learned when I was like 9 or 10 years old. I didn't understand it then, but I thought about it. And by the time I was in my middle teens, I was better than most. Something happened. I don't remember if it was a fight, but something happened where I was at. And the person out of nowhere, and they were older gentlemen, they go, okay, now everybody sees the end result of the fight, but until you can break down what led up to these events, it doesn't matter. To that extent, they're like, you have to break down, you have to backtrack and see the series of events that led to the final outcome, because that's a symptom, basically. And Dave Ramsey helped identify it even more in finance. That's just a symptom. This person getting beat up or that was the symptom of what was building. So how did we get here? If something broke, like, okay, we're driving down the road, a bad accident happened, this person crashes into a bunch of people. Well, it seems like that on the surface. Well, now all of a sudden when we start backtracking and get the evidence, it turns out their brakes defaulted, their tire popped, you know, maybe they had a medical emergency, they had a stroke, you never know. So you have to, before you can come to a conclusion, you've got to backtrack. So while everybody was looking at this going, oh my God, we're going parabolic, I said, oh my God, we topped, because we had resistance, did a whole uptrend from 2018 in January. Support, resistance, hit support here, knew it, hit this second resistance, and I said, holy shit. My eyes are open. Didn't call the top. When this wick happened and we came up to $1.74, I said, oh my God. Oh my God. We've got and I was live on air doing a live when nobody was watching. I was still on my phone. I didn't even have a tablet, but when people started sending super chats, which became incredibly awesome in the beginning, and then I became partner in like 2 weeks on YouTube, but you had to wait a month and a half to get members of Tom's Army, which is why you see 4+ year members, and I've only been on YouTube since March of 21. That seems impossible, but I got the 4,000 watch hours and 1,000 subscribers off my first video because it was that important. If you watch it, you should go back. But it built into this. But once we did this, I was live on air and I said, oh my God. Oh my God. And I just sat there and I said it like 5 times. Like, oh my God, it's over. And literally our bull run was like 4 weeks. I'm like, it's over 4 days, basically. And I go, I'm going 100% liquid. And I did it on air. And I told everybody I'm liquid. I sold my XRP, lost half my audience. Everybody left. Everybody left. So it's one of those things. So, but it's not a 50% tax. See, that's where everybody gets it wrong too, Agony. It's based on your income, not your income after the crypto gains. It's based on if you make $50,000 a year, you might have 20-something% on your crypto gains. Now, if it's short-term versus long-term, there's another dilemma. But fortunately, everybody who's held XRP with me, you've had it since 23, so it's not an issue. You've had it for several years. But anyhow, so once we did this, I was like, oh my God. And I'm like, we're done. And then I said, don't buy back until, and we said sub 40 cents, and I kept saying it for years. Sub 40 cents. Sub 40 cents. And the reason I said that was I was waiting for it to hit the uptrend. First uptrend it hit. It hit 34, came below it. We actually bought our first setback at 28.5 cents. Remember when I talked about that capital building for future ventures? This is where we made it happen. Bought 10,000, I think it was 12,000 XRP at 28.5 cents. And then when it got up to 44 cents, we sold. It ended up going up to 51, but we sold at 44 when it was in this resistance and consolidation before the breakdown. And that produced a lot of capital. So you figure on 10,000 tokens, that 2,800 turned into 4,400. So you produce $1,600 of free capital. And now, depending on your taxes and all, obviously there's tax implications or whatever. But the point is you created a momentary opportunity. And then we bought it back when it hit the uptrend at 34. And the reason we did was they announced the end of quantitative tightening in that March conference of 23. And they went to quantitative easing. And they printing presses were going nuts. And they were going to rate cut drops at the same time. Again, I got demolished by the audience. Even my Telegram I had to shut down because they hated me. And then I built it back in a way you see today, one by one, the right minds, the right understanding. Because you have to be on the ball. Nobody wants to hear what they own is going down 50%. And then all of a sudden, when they're looking for these rock bottom prices, which I thought we were already at, everybody's like, I want sub 20, I want sub 10, I want... Okay, well, now you're talking these best case scenario numbers we could get to there. We've already dropped off 9/10. When I was doing this in 22 and 21, I kept showing everybody, well, VeChain, or like VeChain was at 30 cents. I'm like, it's going to be at 1 cent or under. You know, we're going to have IOTAs at $3 or $2. It's going to be at 10 cents. And people are laughing at me. Oh, it was funny. I was talking about how algo, which is like 250, was going to be at 8 cents or 5 cents. People were literally thought I was an idiot. Like I was the dumbest person in the room. It turns out the dumbest person in the room turned into something different. Because now if you were with me, it turns out we actually were the smartest people in the room. It's just 9 out of 10 people can't be the smartest person in the room. Otherwise, the rigged system doesn't work. Could we all get rich and it would work? No. I'm not even rich yet, but we're on the right track. Do I leverage trade? Not by design unless I see opportunity. And it's a very small amount of my portfolio, so... If I do it right now, I've been open. Yeah, I have a VeChain one that it's got plenty of room of profit. And unless it breaks through the area of concern, which is I bought down on this WEEX, so it would have to come back through and break this for it to sell out. But I wouldn't let it come into a loss. So if it came down and it pushed the 1240 area, it would just sell out. But I'm not looking to do anything except ride it up. I'm trying to build capital for something. And some people are like, Tom, why don't you short the market? I don't want to short the market because I make my money and being able to get out of the way of positions when there's big drops coming, and I make my capital and my money when most people are investing more money from their pockets. I see moments of opportunity like before the October 10th drop, and nobody could predict it was going to happen like that. I didn't predict it was going to be that big. I just said it's going to be significant. And I kept talking about the 30%. I didn't know it was going to be 65%. I didn't know what to do. I was up at my son's meeting for his G-Tube because he had to get a G-Tube change. Every 3 months we have to go to Grand Rapids. So we're literally driving out there as this happened. So I got the shittiest connection. I'm at this gas station. I look at my phone. I go, oh my God, what the hell's going on? And IOTA was sitting there at 9 cents. And then it goes to 8.5 and 8. I go, oh my God. So the first thing I did was I bought IOTA. And then I started buying the rest. And then I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm sitting there saying, how did I get all this stuff? I didn't have all this stuff. But when you have 65% drop and you get, everything but XRP liquidated, it was, I don't know what to say anymore. To sit here in front of you and say, just alone, I have 115,000 IOTA just doesn't even seem right. But then when I can add on everything else, but that's a progressive experience, guys. You can't just do it in one day. That's what I'm saying. I started with $3,000 in crypto. That's it. And that I didn't have any mining stocks because all my money that I was using was getting put towards what I was doing. And me and Julie were just trying to get this house, and we were not doing 100% great, but we had just worked out all of our debt over the last couple of years. We figured out a good system, but with her accident, it set us back big time because she was a full-time worker. I was working full-time, but I started to learn the investing trade. So I was trying to wean off of being a full-time worker and onto, but it cut us short. So I had to do a lot of weird things to get us through. And some of the things like with numbers, like these are the thing, like when high stress situations, I don't want to tell people to gamble, but there were a lot of times when we lived in the trailer, especially after our accident, when we had no money, and I would have to bet like our last $100, and I would study the analytics. I would study what Vegas did, and this is before all of this bullshit where there was all these agreements with the leagues, which makes it easier for me. Like the other night for the Lions game, now I don't even want to talk about it, but it turned. I don't want to talk about it. But I have this thing with numbers, so I look for anomalies, and I was finding it within the WNBA, but I couldn't watch the game. I had to look at it through a data, so I would watch the score on the little thing when you would go to like Gamecast or whatever, and it would just show the people moving around as dots, and I could just so I was absorbing it, and by the time we got into the playoffs, I knew who everybody was, and I had won a little tournaments, and literally we had to pay bills, and I entered a $5.99 tournament. We had $7 in the bank and won that, and that turned into a couple thousand. And you're talking about 40,000 people in these tournaments. And then there was one, or that was like 1,500 people, but there was a lot of times where I had to do like, oh, we have to go into a parlay style bet where $100, it's your last $100. So even if you lose it, it don't matter. You aren't paying the bills anyhow, but it does matter. But you're trying to do things. So I would sit there and study. I would literally do this like I was at a job for 4 hours before this stuff happened. And then I would wait for an anomaly to take place in a game. And then I'm like, oh shit. Like, especially, like, let's say a guy has to throw for 200 yards. His team's down 14-0. He's got 7 yards in the first quarter, for example. But you know the way this offense runs, and you know his team set up to where he has to win this because of the way it goes, like with just league perception. That's what I was looking for, and that's what saved us so many times. And Julie would always be like, I don't know how you can do this. Even to the day, she's like, I don't know how you do this. I don't want to make $500 bets to make $1,000. I want to make a $20 bet to turn into $1,200, and that's what I do. And I've done it 4 times in the last 3 weeks. You know, with the Lions, there was just anomalies that happened. The Lions couldn't lose. Yeah, some could say it was a miracle the way it played out, but I played the numbers on Vegas. So, and I didn't bet before the game, and I just waited for the anomaly phase to happen. So then I got a -4.5. The Lions to win over 57 or whatever it was. And in the last 30 seconds, you seen how it played out. A miracle field goal that they likely just had it going on purpose. The league overtime had to play out exactly where we scored a touchdown. And then the other team couldn't kick a field goal because it was -4.5. So I just figured we'd get the ball first. And I told my dad, I was on the phone with them. I go, Dad, they're going to give it to Jahmyr Gibbs and he's going to run a touchdown because that would be the easiest scenario to this. They don't want anything else to happen. They don't want Golf to throw an interception. And I told Julie right before it happened, I go, the best case scenario here is for Vegas. Gibbs runs a touchdown here, goes up 7, and then they can't kick a field goal because they have to go in to try to tie it. And then the Lions, you know, unless, you know, Vegas is in on it, because then they kick a field goal to lose by 4, and you're like, well, they're just looking at it. But that's what I'm saying. So I look at the same thing in crypto, in the markets, emerging markets. It's not just crypto. I wish more people were as passionate. I'm trying to show you like an insight of what I understand. It's the numbers thing. It has nothing to do with what we're looking at. You have to understand the whole setup. So it's not just the emerging markets. I think 26 mid to late year is going to be the best year they've ever had. And I talked about this last year. We put $3,500 a year because it's tax deferred, and or $7,000 a year. It's tax deferred in your IRA. And I do it in emerging markets. So I did 7,000 last year, 7,000 this year. Vanguard, the top one, I did 3,500 last year, and then the top Fidelity one, I did 3,500. And the one below it on Vanguard was 3,500 this year. Fidelity 30. I already have the ones for next year picked out, and then I'll add it to this when I do it. So it's just a progressive thing. And over the last year, this is up 22.9. That's incredibly big for a mutual fund. 5% the past year, but remember, I only bought this one this year. So you're talking about this was all the way down to, it was under $10 when I bought it. So that's why I chose that one this year. The Fidelity one over a year is up 22.8. And then this one's up 19.6. But remember, I only bought this one when it was down here. These were in like April, because that's when I made that money. When I sold out in March, then I ended up buying these when they bottomed out. That's how I bought my emerging markets funds too, from the crypto profits. Like, this is all I do. I roll things in. And then now everybody's like, are you worried about the miners? No. Look how low I bought it compared to where they're at. I took profit on some of them because, like, I had 1,500 Hecla, so I could, because I only wanted 1,000. But I always tell people, buy overages. I had 3,500 B2 gold, so I could sell it when it moved up over 5. I had 400 Barrett. I had 400 Pan America. But this is how I build capital. So now I've got my capital in case I've got 15,000 from those profits now, in case I want to buy, anything that has to do with the XRPN and XRPNU and XRP. I'm not buying the XRPC. It's just never going to happen. So if you're waiting for me to do that, I'm not doing it. I'm more looking at the Armada Acquisition Corp ones, because that's where their own treasury is going to be. You're going to be able to get a yield on the warrant eventually in next year. So those are the three I'm eyeing. But they've all come down a significant amount because we don't have a baseline. So I'm not buying without a baseline, but we might be getting one. I didn't know if this was a double top and this was going to roll down one more time. Like, it's going to come and sink. I don't know, because we have no baseline. You can go back in the chart, but this is before the acquisition. So really, this was good to double top. Came back down here. We had an absorbent push when they thought something was going to happen. There might have been people talking about, or a previous acquisition came back down and they built it for the next one. So anyhow, these are like blank chunk companies. And then, you know what happened. You know what happened with all of it. So yeah, that's basically, is that a long answer to the question? I know. That was a pretty long answer about this whole thing. But that's basically, that's how it goes. Thomas talking football. Yeah, no. It was more than football. It was just the anomaly of numbers, basically. Well, speaking of football, 1970 legend, whenever I see him again, we got to play the Buckeyes this week on Sunday in Ann Arbor. If we win, we're in the playoff. If we lose, it's going to suck. We haven't lost to Ohio State since 2019, and after losing 13 out of 15 years, I'm not ready to lose to them again. But if that's the way it needs to be, I still think we can win. I know we're on a third-string running back, but if we could win last year in Columbus, anything's possible. Like I said, last year our quarterback had 2 arms tied behind his back, and he was throwing it with his nipples, and we still won. I just don't understand. Like, they put stickum on his nipple, and he leaned back with his chest. He was doing some incredible workouts, and he was throwing it. And apparently, for 50 yards of offense, we still won. So yeah, I don't know how we did it. So if we could do that, our quarterback right now is the #1 recruit in football. So here we are. Bearded Viking, welcome, and I hope your little one's doing well. We always continue to pray for the continued healing and spiritual guidance for Juice, welcome in, says I just jumped on. I've been driving better late than never. Yes, indeed, Juice, but be paying attention to that road, my friend. And thanks for being in Tom's Army for your first month. I'm rich in spirit too, Bearded Viking. I feel that. Arelli says, hey, Tom, what do you see VeChain doing this cycle? I see big things. VeChain is substantially oversold. I think it's one of the best bargains on the market right now for IOTA tokens. Maybe not today like it was a few days ago in the daily, but the monthly substantially oversold, which is why I bought it. The weekly met up with the daily, met up with the 4-hourly when I had bought it. And this had a substantial drop, and that's why I bought it down here. Everything met up to extremely oversold. We did a live, too, and I talked about VeChain that day and said, this is the time. I went on a vehement push when we were down here and said, nobody's going to look at this because they're going to look for 72. But what did I don't want to say what did I say, but what we were talking as a community on Friday, that we would have to build a structure to get to 72, and whether that was either minimum 88,800, which I know everybody understands now, or it's coming all the way back up to the rising wedge to where it could break down at 100, or it breaks past there and we never break down. We don't know. But for this to build up, the minimum push up, in my opinion, and we've hit it with 88,461. That was minimum. And then, like we said, everybody would see it hit here and then they would start buying. And you can go back to Friday's live. We pinned this so freaking perfect. It makes me feel so good when it plays out. And we talked, and I some people might think of this as, oh, he's gloating. I'm not gloating. This is literally, if you watch every day, because there was people that were part of this discussion. We had a couple hundred, 250 people on the Friday's live when we were dropping. And I said on Friday exactly how we could play this out. And on Friday, remember, we were way down here. Way down here, folks. This is where I was telling everybody to buy the crypto market. Because that was the point of having liquidity. I told everybody not to buy when it came up here. Remember, I said, I'm not buying here. I don't care what it does. It had a fake out. Then it came through. And I said, that's the real spot to buy. Then I said, what's going to happen is we're going to trickle up, and by Monday, we'll hit this resistance at 88.4, and that's where everybody's going to be buying. It's going to be do the quick pullback to validate the back test of that CME gap zone as support, which is exactly what it did. Everybody's looking discontent. Now it's reversing back up, and this is where we could get the real play up. If we break through 84,461 and then back test it as support, good night, because now we're going to come back up, and we've got a wide range here. So it's playing out exactly like I would do. Remember, maximum pain for retail. Remember, they were selling out. I showed the metric, how XRP got to minus 0.030 or 0.30 negative. And the last two times it got to negative 1.5 and negative 1.8, we had a parabolic spike. At least it was signaling a bottom reversal. So, and look at November's playing out exactly like we thought. It would give us guidance. It would show us direction. It should bottom out at some point and try to show us the guiding stone. We've got the guiding stone now, guys. This is exactly what we were hoping for. Exactly. We got a lot of pessimism. People were selling at the exact wrong time, and now they look at things and go, I'm afraid to buy, or not just that, they don't have money to buy. Remember my old saying, don't buy the bottom till the bottom. Otherwise, when the bottom comes, you're going to be priced out of the market. Does anybody remember that? I think we're getting ready for a nice run up here in the market. Doesn't really matter to me what the market makers try to show it. It doesn't. I think we know better. And I think we've proved it through every sector. I really do. But in the game we call crypto, don't be afraid. Guys, if you have the knowledge, it doesn't matter what they say. You can see it on a chart. What do you care? We were oversold in the weekly, oversold in the monthly. We have no liquidity down below. We got all this liquidity above. If you've got all of these things, the crypto fear and greed was at 10. Remember when I was making the point? When everybody bought that first dip, I said, how could it go from a 10 to 14? Because everybody's buying a drop, perceiving this as the bottom, and it's not. This is going to cause more of the, I don't care, I'm going to sell it even if I'm in loss, which is the metric that went up on the next drop when I bought. Then the fear and greed index went from 14 to 10, so people became even more fearful, even though should have got more greedy. So that was our indicator. It really was. People, they didn't know what was going on. And I always say, this is my whole thing. Once you do it wrong one time, it's over. It's over. And this is how I always tell you to judge an influencer. Don't judge them based on what I'm saying. Don't even judge me based on telling you what I think. When it's at the proper time to take profit because of a big cycle run up and we're at a top, are you being told to buy or sell? And when we're at a historical liquidation drop to push towards a high that we haven't seen, and not the token you're in, but in the market cap, guys. You got to remember, it's not about the individual token. When we say it's going to go to an all-time high, that's in the total market cap, the total 3, and the others. The individual token, you have to buy at the right spot, because a 10x, some people bought, and just hear me out. Some people bought, and I have a perfect example. Just use like IOTA. It went up all the way to almost 40 cents. It was at mid-30s, 40. Now, if you would have bought it there, you're looking for $4 for a 10x. Now, think about it when we bought it at 8.5. We were able to do what we had to do, flip it up and down, left and right. Some people are looking for a 10x just to get back up to 85 cents, where it would be a 1x for you. So it's all about perspective of where you bought it. Think about like XRP, the people that were buying it at $3 and $3.50. Some people were able to get it at $1.16, even though they missed the run-in from last November. That's what I mean. And that's why I keep reiterating this over and over. I'm not trying to be a dick. I'm not trying to make you discouraged. I'm trying to encourage you, to show you that this is possible. But you have to be here every single day, not just to watch me, just so you can stay on top of things. It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. And if we don't, we can't do it. And I'm going to leave because I got to go take care of my son. I like CRO. It's going to be part of the treasury in a different way. It's going to be one of your digital treasuries. I thought it was going to be a player, so I chose crypto.com for their Visa debit card because you had to own CRO. So I was buying it at 8, 9, 10, 11, 13 cents because you had to have so many because I have the Ruby level card. And I have 35,000, little over, because you get rewarded for it too as you make purchases. So it's closing in on 40,000. I just locked them up for 20% because I'm never selling them because I can if I want to use the card. So I just take when they have special awards but I don't mind. I think it's going to get up there. I think CRO is going to be like some of the other exchanges. It might not be like Binance because of the amount of tokens, but CRO's price is probably going to settle well over the $1, $2 range. It's going to get up there in time. It's designed to. I don't know how long it's going to take, but it's actually designed in the next chapter. I've talked about crypto.com not as an exchange anymore for crypto. They're becoming an all-out like digital one-stop shop so you can get your gold, silver they're trying to do. They want you to be able to trade the stock market. They want you to sports bet. They want you to trade crypto. They want you to be able to open bonds soon. They're working on that. So they want this to be a one-stop shop. So if you believe that that's going to be like that, which I do, and you want to invest, the CRO token is, yeah, it's an investment, but I'm looking at it as not a crypto investment. I'm looking at the CRO token as a operative token for something that's revolutionary in this space. Because they're not just focusing on crypto or the stock market, even gold delivery, sports betting. How many exchanges can you go on and you can bet sports on? Like I can go to crypto.com, I don't. But you can bet on sports, you can bet on parlay. You can do so much stuff, it's crazy. I'm not a big fan of their up-down options and things like that, but you can definitely do stupid stuff like that too. But yeah, so I think it's more than that. So right now, and look at this, guys. It's a big indication right now that we can go up and take all this liquidity. 52.5% are short. I don't know why. 47.49% are long. 33.96 billion are going long. 37.6 billion going short, which means there's a displacement right now of and you heard this right, $3.7 billion can be liquidated going up here compared to going down in the past 24 hours. That's all you need to know, really. And look at the large amounts of money. 51.26% short, 48.74% long on Ethereum. A displacement right now because there's 31.6 billion going long, 33.24 billion going short. That means if you go long here, the market makers, there's an extra $1.53 billion of liquidity to be taken. That's a lot of money. XRP flipped back in the wrong direction. Yesterday, actually, more people were getting it right. Today, they're getting it wrong because they're going short. Yesterday, they were getting it right because there was more people going long, but they sold themselves out of a good position. 50.3% now going short, 49.7% going long. And you always know there should be some nice market movement in the direction you're in because XRP now is at cumulatively, there's about a 5. It's not a lot. It's not a big displacement. 3.76 billion short. I mean long. 3.81 billion long. I mean short. Sorry, but it's the amount of money that's being pushed into it right now. So you can see there's heightened interest right now. That's a lot of money. And then if you want to go, because the USA token that the elite pump and dump the most that they use as their batting stone is Solana. So you always want to be aware of the long short with Solana because it pushes hella money. 50.9 for an alt token, that is. 59 or 50.99% going short. 49.01% going long. Not horrible, but is that about 300 million extra going up? But it's the amount of money that's in futures right now. Derivatives. 7.16 billion to the long side, 7.43 billion to the short, which means all that money's not in spot positioning. That's a lot of money. So that's a lot of stuff going on, folks. A lot of stuff going on. I hope this update helped. I hope you're not afraid to trade the market, and I hope by watching me every single day that you find perspective. I encourage you to join Tom's Army if you want to pay it forward. You get into the exclusive Telegram, and there's literally nothing like this in the world. We created something unique from the perspective of, even if you want to just read our Big House Daily Digest, which is nice. We have a magazine. I think, we've done many episodes now, thanks to Defined. We have the update on Linnea, which we pushed. Now it's up higher than that because we've pushed since then, but it finally got back into a good range. I'll look on my phone to see where it sits right now. But this is this week's episode. Just been a great thing. We have the content links if you want to be a part of the content. We have the pager section so I can put information. I'm doing something for our hearing impaired. I even put it on YouTube now. Gets 400 or 500 views as a short. But now I put the technical analysis written out for the hearing impaired. I started doing that a few days ago, but I'm going to keep doing that. We have the community hub where we can all talk. Let me delete this now that the live's already going on. But everybody can talk in there. But then we also have the special sections. So if you're trying to, like look at the XRP daily setup, we've got a lot of people that talk in there. We've got the help desk, especially if you see spammers or you need help with anything that's related to crypto, reach out. Technical Lounge with Nick is phenomenal. He goes through and does all this stuff. Mind you, Nick and MQ are full-time workers, so be sparing. We've got the calculated and smart leverage with MQT, so they talk about leverage trading. So if you're a fan of leverage, go in here because they talk real stuff, not nonsense. They talk nonsense. They do not talk the nonsense. So if you want nonsense, this isn't the place for you. But if you want real, enlightened, in the moment opportunities with the community that understands, that's part of it. And that's a big part of it. Last thing I want to mention, because I always forget, if you're looking for exchanges, I make it simple. It's just what I use in the video description below and our pinned comments of this very video. I don't even know if I put it on here, which I don't think I did. Let me pin this just so you can see it. You've got TOOBIT. That's where our copy trade is for Linnea, and we were able to strategically place ourselves into better and better spots with that, being able to sell out before drops. So if you want to join the copy trade, that's on there. And also I have my Epic on there. There's so many different things you can trade on there. It's the lowest spot and leverage. It's kind of like BITUNIX was. I still love BITUNIX, so I know some people have issues. I still love BITUNIX. I love TOOBIT because of the no KYC. If you want to copy trade, like I said, it's on there. And every time I add to it, you have an ability, or if we ever have to sell out, just get it set up. But remember, don't just subscribe and heart. You also have to follow. So go to XRP Future Millionaire as a copy trader, and follow me, so that you can be a part of it. We have 11 people part of it right now in the current copy trade with Linnea, which I would like to keep them open for a very long time. But if the market shows me it's got to come down a lot, I'm not afraid to close them and then reposition like we've had to do a couple times to give us much lower buy-in entries. So this is at my copy trade, my trades. Right now, the one that's open is it is up. What the was that? Let me go into the copy trade area. So right now, it was open at 00957. It's up 10.34% or a profit of $329 right now. I don't know. And I only do 1x when we do the copy trade. So who knows what's going to happen here. Right now, it's doing okay. But as you know, we've had a lot of up and down. So it's just all about perspective. There's also for WEEX, that's where I hold my IOTA. And that's where I have my DAG. And you can KYC, no KYC, but you can also do a KYC if you want to make sure your stuff is a little bit safer. Anybody who has problems, don't do the KYC, so that's up to you. And then BITUNIX, I highly encourage it for Proton. They have IOTA there, some have said, but I'm not switching because I know the order book on WEEX. And then I have my Axelar on BITUNIX as well, so that's just the way I'm doing it. They're all there in the links in the video description below and our pinned comments. Even in my homepage you can go to find these exchanges. I encourage you to have these outside of the tier 1 exchanges. Oh, I guess Venmo and PayPal is there. If you want to send a donation outside of YouTube, you can do Venmo and PayPal. I know some people asked. I guess I added it. I don't remember when I did. But then there's all the links as well. My Facebook channel, I encourage you to do that as well. So yeah, have a good morning, everybody.